I cannot believe this happened to me. To me, I think we all want to think it will never happen to us, that we can drift through life without a scratch. But hey, here I am with a story I wish never happened to me. So, this happened very recently. To provide a bit more context, it was in the summer months of 2020. My name is Adam. I am 33 years old, live alone, and suffer with anxiety. Especially with all this COVID stuff going on, we all can relate to some degree. But being single for quite some time and having spare time in the night to talk to someone new, I took my hand to try dating apps. In this instance, of course, it was Bumble. I had heard of a few people who had used Bumble and had much better success than Tinder. So being new to it all, I thought why not? I took myself to be a pretty average looking guy. Seldom worked out and was told very charismatic. First 3 days I got a handful of matches. It was going sweetly, I thought. I even liked the idea that they had to message first, which admittedly took a little while to figure out before I caught on. Happy days. On the 4th day, I ended up speaking to a girl named Emma, who was quite a lovely girl. She seemed to be a little insecure from what I assumed from her messages, and being one of those people that always liked fixing people, I really wanted to meet up with her. I was instantly attracted to who she was and how she handled the bad times that she had expressed so freely to me in conversation. Now, I may get completely judged here, because instead of going the norm, of going for a meal or going for a walk, she ended up coming straight over to mine, as we are both massive fans of Lord of the Rings and really wanted to watch it together. I went and bought some snacks, even cooked a nice meal. I made it clear that I want to go slow in terms of anything sexual, and she agreed with that. So, after waiting all day, I was positive she was not going to come over, but then did. I was happy and very surprised. It was pretty much night time, and girls are always very cautious. But before I knew it, we would chill together. Started off with light conversation, getting to know each other a bit more before finally sitting together and putting Lord of the Rings on. I would like to say we cuddled up and shared food, but we did none of that. In fact, even though we sat together, we did not cuddle at all, and I only ate the food. I did make a few moves. I even mentioned having that colour she said she would give me, but nothing happened. That was how it stayed until the first part of the film finished and I needed to use the bathroom. Great date, right? I was so confused, standing around in the bathroom wondering why none of my moves were happening and what the hell was going on. Splashing some water on my face, thinking I needed to up my game or change my approach, I came out of the bathroom, closed the door, and was faced with her saying she had to go, and she should do it again soon. Great. I knew I was full of excuses. I didn't even get to show her how I've upped my game. But I was fine with it, swallowing my pride and putting a smile on my face, whilst deep inside I was gutted and continued to be respectful whilst walking her to the door. Now this would be a pretty boring story if nothing else happened. But from my kitchen window, I can see the rest of my street, and as I took the dishes out and placed them in the sink, I could see her car come to a stop and she sat there, not moving for ages. It was weird, but I figured she was just putting directions into her sat-nav or something. I went back into the living room, continued tidying up, still gutted, but still sucking her up, and still noticing her car was sat there. I was in 2 months to shoot her a quick text asking her if things were okay, but she bailed and did not want anything to do with me, so I thought it best left be. Now this is where it got a little stranger. She reversed back up my street. Now, where I live, you have to go right to the end of my street and then turn right. So of course, there is a huge blind spot I could not see if she reversed far enough. And boy did she do that. Out of sight, sadly not out of mind. I quickly glanced out of the front window, thinking maybe she forgot something, or she made a mistake and wanted to get to know me again. Hopeful, I guess. Stupid could be another word for what my mind was thinking. But no headlights, no car, nothing. Now, I am greatly confident, strong-minded, and did not pay it much attention. I sat back down and chilled for around an hour before deciding to head to sleep. In my eyes, my place was still a mess, even though I spent the day cleaning it. So I locked up, and that was my effort to end the day. The biggest problem I now faced was that it was so hot and humid that it was unbearable to sleep in. Grabbing my fan, locking and checking to make sure the kitchen appliances were switched off, I headed off to bed. I quickly put the fan on before finally resting. It took me ages to get to sleep. Hours, even. And before I could drift off into my place of sheer bliss, I heard someone come from the living room. I thought it was just typical noises you hear all the time. The house settling down maybe, those kind of strange noises. But I kept hearing this one noise. I cannot put my finger on how to explain what it sounds like, but it made me get up out of bed to have a look. My bedroom was right next to my living room, so as I came out of my bedroom, I was quickly able to see into the living room, and boy did I see something that gave me the fright of my life. I could see a shadow by the balcony door. It looked as if they were trying to break in. First thing that came into my mind was if I had locked the door or not, and fight or flight kicked in quickly. What gave me more panic was that I heard a noise come from my front door also. I stepped quietly over to the front door and looked through the peephole to see that same girl from earlier trying to pick the lock. Yes, that is correct. This Bumble girl who came to watch Lord of the Rings with me was now at my front door trying to pick the lock. Now, I know I should be phoning the police, but I ended up starting to get a panic attack. I was terrified. But I managed to compose myself enough to grab my phone and now call the police. They said someone would be there within minutes and to stay in my bedroom with the door closed, but I decided against that. They were coming quickly, right? Why should I hide away when they haven't even got in yet? I always put both locks on the front door, so I knew that was going to buy me some extra time. So I focused my attention on the balcony door. Now, if I kept the handle down, they would not be able to lift it to get inside. I was quite a strong guy. Even in that very moment, I was terrified beyond belief. Then I went into the living room to confront said fears. Someone was looking through the window and could now obviously see me. I froze in place as we just stared at each other. Of course, we could only see silhouettes of each other, but it was obviously now they knew I was awake and aware of their presence. For some reason though, instead of running over to the balcony door and waiting for that time I knew I was going to have to stay strong and keep the handle from being lifted, I turned my attention back to the front door. The biggest reason for this was that I am overly cautious with locking up, and the balcony door was considerably harder to open than the front. I also knew that the hallway that encompassed the front door was extremely echoey, so I knelt at the letterbox, lifted it up as quietly as possible and started to yell at the top of my lungs. What shocked me and sent me flying back was that a knife came through it, swinging back and forth violently, as I was sure it had almost held me. "Where's the police?" I yelled from within. A few minutes, it was feeling like a lifetime. I kept yelling, but obviously from a further back position. It was risky calling for my neighbours as I did not want to get them involved, but I was hoping it was more to scare them off than anything else. Then I see that woman look through the letterbox, smiling with a gun in her hand. Yep, I silenced myself. I heard the door handle drop to the floor and I sprinted into the living room, noticing the balcony door started to open as I lunged with all my weight, flinging it closed. It was now a battle of me holding it closed and then pushing against me. Maybe there is a God, because that was when sirens and police turned up. and I dropped to the floor thinking that this was all over. But how wrong was I? Now, not putting any weight to the door, they pushed it open and it had sent me flying into the wall. I scrambled to compose myself as I heard a man say viciously,
"If I'm going down, might as well go down for something worthwhile."
I felt a sharp pain on my shoulder and down in my leg as I struggled to fight this person off me. The police were obviously busy with the others as I was now as confident as I could be in anything else, knowing I was fighting for my life. I was sure I was going to die. I could now see blood on my clothes as I somehow got a hard enough elbow in that knocked him back enough for the tables to turn. The knife went flying and it was a literal fight whilst I was losing blood. I heard the police coming, but I was so terrified and filled with adrenaline that I could not stop holding this guy and fighting. It was like in that moment nothing was going to save me. Eventually the police pulled me off and quickly arrested him whilst I fell back, feeling a bit dizzy and shook to my core. I pointed to where the knife went off to, and they called an ambulance for me. I don't exactly know what happened to them, but I remember those words the guy said to me whilst knowing the police are right outside. I will never forget it, and be safe out there. I spent over a week in hospital, just for observations mainly, but I'm okay. Maybe my story was extremely rare, but these things can happen, and I have learned a lesson I will always remember.